Red Line Logbook here for D. Gray Man's Artificial Exorcist Part 4. And we're starting where we left off with Alma awakening and looking for Kanda, and he immediately finds him, just standing there. As for Alan, he regains consciousness not too far away, and he is currently surrounded by the devastation of the explosion of Alma waking up. The only reason why Alan's alive is because Tasuga was able to put up a barrier with a talisman. He basically collapses because he took almost the full brunt of the explosion himself, protecting Alan. And Alan's like, "You fool, you shouldn't have done that." And Tsuga's like, "You are an apostle of God. Your life is vastly more important than mine. You need to survive." Alan starts breaking down because he realizes there's no way Johnny and the rest survived that explosion. But then over the radio, he hears Johnny's voice. Apparently, Tsuga didn't just protect Alan, he protected everyone. Like this man, without any arms, with just his teeth, casted a bunch of protection talismans and saved everyone's lives. Tsuga's a real MVP of this arc, I gotta say. There's amazing work. Alma's hatred and rage starts to boil over, and it's all targeted straight at Kanda, for the simple fact that Kanda killed him and only him. And because he actually failed to kill him, he ended up turning into an Akuma, which makes him even more hate-filled. Alma's hatred starts to go out of control to the point where even his cells inside of the third exorcist start to bubble up, and they all begin to mutate and transform into basically Akuma themselves. Tsuga's body transforms into this hodgepodge of meat and mouths and all kinds of grotesqueries, basically screaming, "I will never forgive, I will never forgive," over and over. Alan and Tsuga are freaking out, wondering what's going on, why is he mutating like that? And the Millennium Earl seems to have some kind of psychic ability to talk into people's heads, because then he just tells everyone that's there able to witness this, that they are all been infected by Alma's cells, and will now turn into Akuma to be killed by the exorcists themselves. Alan's like, "What are you talking about?" And as he tries to get closer to Tsuga to save him, his innocence activates and on its own attacks Tsuga. Tsuga is completely stunned by this. He's wondering why Alan is trying to murder him. And Alan's like, "No, it wasn't me. I didn't try to do that. I'm not trying to attack you." And then Tsuga puts two and two together and he realizes it wasn't Alan that attacked him, it was the innocents. And this basically breaks Tsuga, because you gotta remember, this guy comes from the Vatican. He's one of the personal guards to the Pope himself. And so when the innocents attacked him, to Tsuga's eyes, that's basically saying that God has viewed him as an enemy. He is an enemy of God now. This, of course, is just heartbreaking for him. And on top of Alma's madness affecting his body, his own grief is mixing in, and he's just going insane. And obviously, it's not just Tsuga. This is happening to all of the third exorcists. They're all mutating and transforming, and all of the exorcists around them's innocence is activating to attack them. The fight between Kanda and Alma start, but the main event is currently Alan trying to save Tsuga, trying to free him from the Alma cells. That's when the Earl makes one of the most evil offers ever. He tells Alan that, "Hey, 14th, if you come with me, I can save all the third exorcists." The Earl then reveals the secret of the Akuma, and that every single one of them are made from his soul. They're basically clones of the Millennium Earl, which means at any point, he could easily remove the dark matter from all the third exorcists and from Alma, turning them back into humans again. Alma's response to that is, "I don't care about the dark matter, I don't care that I'm Akuma. Even if I wasn't an Akuma, my goal right now is to kill Kanda. That's all I care about." And Alma and Kanda are just ripping each other apart. Dr. Zoe is freaking out, basically calling out to Kanda because he doesn't want him to die. And believe it or not, Dr. River, she's actually worried about Alma, which is funny because she was the one doing the experiments on him this whole time, but she generally does care about Alma. Buck then starts to scream at both of them, telling them to stop, there's no need to keep killing. And Tsuga, now mutated into like a blob of Alma cells, starts calling Bach Egger, Professor Egger. Professor Egger was the second in command of the Second Exorcist Project that created Alma, and also he was Bach's father. And so this Tsuga Alma thinks Bach is Professor Egger and is planning on just straight up killing him. Alma already did that like 9 years ago. So he's going to now murder his son Bach. He unleashes a bolt of electricity that not just blasts Bach, but everyone. They start getting electrocuted. Alan steps in to stop him, trying to still save Tsuga, but then Tsuga's mind is completely lost. He's been completely taken over by Alma's cells. He looks at Alan and says, "Who are you?" and then breaks his leg. The Earl once again makes his offer to Alan, asking him to come with him. And Johnny's like, "Why? Why do you even want the 14? He tried to kill you, didn't he? So why are you trying to take him with you?" And the Earl's response is, "Because I want him to be by my side." Literally, everyone is surprised by this statement. Not just Johnny and the rest of the Black Order. Even the Noah are stunned to hear this, because that is a level of love that is just on the absurd. While everyone is distracted by that, Bach is then able to summon Fu, and she is quickly given the information of what's going on right now, and she comes to the very simple conclusion that Alan needs to kill Alma, while she holds back Tsuga and also the Noah. And Alan's basic response is he doesn't want to kill Alma. Jiggy then cuts down Fu while she's trying to protect Alan, and he's like, okay, well in that case you've made your decision. You have to come with us then, if you don't want to stop Alma yourself. And Fu is like, that's not how this works. Saving people isn't that simple. Don't just go deciding on your own like you always do. Once again, she's lecturing Alan about how self-destructive he is, because he generally was about to go with the Noah, hoping this could save everyone. Jiggy doesn't want to hear Fu anymore. He attacks her with a laser. Alan then jumps in, saves her, and then he asks, well, if that's true, can I be saved? And Fu's like, how am I supposed to know? That's when everyone that's involved in the second Exorcist project starts to help Alan, because they just don't want you or Alma to die either. Zoe activates a spirit, which then heals Alan's leg. And then Dr. River says to Alan that Alma has no reason to want to kill Kanda. And so she begs Alan to save both of them. All that he has to do is get them to stop fighting. Yeah, so this whole thing has become a massive mess where everybody has their own agenda, different groups want different things, everyone wants to save someone else, and it's become a massive clusterfuck of just tragedy. And unfortunately for Alan, he's the one stuck in the middle because he's the only one with the power to do anything. He has to make the choice. And Alan sees if he can save everyone. He decides to jump in between both Kanda and Alma's fight, protecting Alma from Kanda because Kanda's kicking his ass. Both Kanda and Alma are surprised what just happened. Like, Alma's surprised that he's being protected by an exorcist. Alan's like, hey, just get back a little bit. I'll keep you safe. And Alma's like, what? No. And Kanda has completely snapped. He is in a complete blood rage, and he's lost all sense of his person. He's just screaming at the top of his lungs, desperately trying to kill Alma, pissed off that Alan would get in his way. And the reason why Kanda has completely lost control is because he's supplementing his soul again, like he did against the Noah's skin. And out of control and in a complete blood rage, Kanda starts cutting down both Alma and Alan. Unfortunately for Alan, because he is the host of the 14th, innocence is extremely effective against him. And so when Kanda cuts him, it starts to resonate with the rest of his body and starts to eat away at him. Almost starts pushing his body past its limit point, and he starts just firing lasers at Kanda. One so powerful it starts to literally rip apart his flesh piece by piece. Fortunately for Kanda, he regenerates just as fast as he's ripped apart. Alan, of course, stops Alma from doing this because he doesn't want either of them to die. He's trying to protect both. And Alan's like, you were with us in Kanda's memories. You saw why he chose to live, why he chose to cut you down. Why can't you forgive him? Why can't you move on? And Alma's response is, I can never do that, not as long as Kanda lives. I have to kill him. Alma then collapses, his chest beginning to hurt, and the Millennium Earl then explains, you were kind of a rush job, so as an Akuma, you're a failure. You're going to be dead soon. Well, too bad. And Alma's like, I don't care about that. As long as Kanda's dead, I don't care if I die. And Alan is generally confused right now. He's wondering why Alma is so desperate. Why does he have to kill Kanda so badly, even when he's in this state and he's about to die? And while he's trying to ask these questions to Alma, Kanda then tries to take advantage of the situation and cut Alma's head clean off. Alan saves him, but Kanda's not having that. He's like, hand that thing over, hand that thing over. He is desperate to kill Alma. Alan starts to lecture Kanda about being a coward, about the fact that he is unwilling to face Alma head on, and what he's doing right now is just running away. Kanda's rage seems to hit its boiling point to the point where Mugen, Kanda's innocence, transforms into its more raw form that he had when he first acquired it back 9 years ago. Kanda then says this is all his fault, all Alan's fault, that fucking Noah. And the two of them start clashing and ripping each other apart. Alan then gets pissed off, saying, what do you know about me? Now, completely understands why these two are acting the way they are. First off, Kanda would not exist if it wasn't for the Holy War, and the Holy War wouldn't have started if it wasn't for the Noah. So basically, the Noah are the reason why he suffers, is the reason why his original life was killed by an Akuma, the reason why he has to go through all this. And Alan, of course, is just some innocent kid who was possessed by the 14th. Both of these two are very similar in the fact that their lives were decided by someone else and surrounded by tragedy and pain. The two just continue to rip each other apart. That is when Alma begins to show signs that he still cares about Kanda. And for a brief second, he then blasts a laser, shooting Alan in the back to protect Kanda. And that's when Kanda takes his sword and rams it through Alan's stomach. Everyone is horrified by this. The only one gleeful, the fact that Alan just got stabbed, is the Millennium Earl. Alan's last act before finally collapsing to the ground is to whisper into Kanda's ear, "Look at Alma's face." Why is he making that kind of face? I have no idea. This seems to finally calm down Kanda, and he actually starts to look at Alma and the fact that he's just on the verge of tears. Alan then collapsed to the ground, his entire body turned gray. The 14th has awoken. Alan's body then erupts with energy, forcing both Kanda and Alma back. Alma, already weakened by the fact that his body's breaking down, ends up smashing into a wall. Unfortunately, because Kanda's finally calmed down, he catches his friend and is no longer trying to murder him. The Earl then starts celebrating, thanking Kanda because he kept cutting Alan with his innocence over and over again. This finally forced 14th to awaken, and Kanda finally realizes what he's done. He didn't just lose himself into trying to kill Alma, he also damned Alan into becoming a Noah. And while Kanda and Alan have never really gotten along, that has more to do with the fact that Kanda just hates the world in general, not just Alan. But at the same time, he actually sees value in human life, including Alan, and so the fact that he's the reason why Alan is now becoming the 14th actually does hurt Kanda. That's when we get to see inside of Alan's mind. He's currently chained to a chair in a very haunted area, and standing before him is the 14th, and he reveals to Alan his name. He is Nia. Honestly, he looks like a younger version of Tiki Meek, and you can tell he really is a Noah because he's still got that sinister aura, and he straight up announces that he will be the one to destroy everything. On the outside, in the real world, that's when Tinkampi becomes a giant and starts releasing electricity out of its mouth. My assumption is as soon as the 14th awakens, Tinkampi was probably programmed to undo it, like reseal the 14th. I say that because whatever this lightning is, it seems to be magic-based, and it seems to destroy all Noah magic, including those little beetles that prevent Alan from using the Arc or being able to use his cursed eye. And as the lightning hits Alan, it then creates a vision in his head of Mana calling out to him. And this is able to snap Alan back into control over his own body. And with Alan back in control of his body, and with the Earl's barrier destroyed, his cursed eye activates, and the only Akuma nearby is Alma, and he finally sees the soul of Alma. It's the woman that Kanda sees in his vision. The woman that the original Kanda was cloned from is in love with, which means Alma is the clone and also currently carrying the brain of the woman this whole time. The soul is crying, begging Alan not to look at her, not to realize what's happening, but because he saw Kanda's memories, he knows who this woman is. Alma also realizes that Alan can see the soul, and he decides to do what all Akuma have the ability to do. Alma decides to self-destruct. This explosion isn't as massive as the awakening Alma explosion, but it's still so massive that Kanda, who's currently holding Alma, is basically blown to pieces. If it wasn't for the fact that Kanda has that regeneration, he'd be dead right now. But at the moment, Kanda is just laid out. And this is when the Noah finally start discussing killing Kanda. Apparently, this whole thing involving the Third Exorcist, the main reason why they did all this was to kill Kanda to get revenge for Skin Barak. They could have just killed Kanda by ganging up on him, but they wanted to make sure this man suffered before he died. Their plan was as followed: kidnap Kanda, brainwash him, force him to relive his memories, wake up Alma, turn Alma into an Akuma, and then have the two fight to the death. And when that's all said and done, and Kanda has re-murdered his best friend, only then would the Noah finally kill Kanda. Seriously, the Noah are fucked up. There's nothing redeeming about their behavior. They are just petty evil. Alan is completely devastated about what he just saw. He starts to grieve on the fact that Kanda will never know that Alma was the woman that he was looking for this whole time. And as he's beginning to break down, that's when Alma, because he also can regenerate, regenerates from his core, partially, and then explains why he did everything that he did. He never intended to actually kill Kanda. His goal was for Kanda to kill him. And the reason for this is because Kanda's reason for living, which we saw in the flashback, was to find the woman he loves. Alma knew the moment that Kanda found out the woman he loves is actually dead this whole time, that's it. Kanda has no reason to keep pushing forward. He has no reason to live. So Alma's plan from the very beginning was to have Kanda murder him, and then continuously search for this woman for the rest of his life, knowing that he'll never find her. But that also means Kanda will get to live a long life. Alan then decides he's going to take Alma over to Kanda, but as he's doing that, Alma begins to mutate into this thing. The reason for that is, it doesn't matter if he has the regenerations of a second exorcist, he's still an Akuma that detonated. The dark matter is going to finish eating away at his soul until he's gone. Alan realizes the situation immediately, And he also knows that the Earl is currently moving towards Kanda, so he decides to wrap up all the Noah, pinning them down, and then he grabs Kanda to take him over to Alma. Thing is, Kanda's been conscious this whole time, and he asked Alan to send them to where their first mission was at, the mission back with the doll. Alan says, alright. Kanda jumps over to Alma. Alma then realizes that Kanda heard everything. Kanda now knows the truth, but Kanda doesn't care. He realizes that his friend / in a former life lover is about to die, and he just wants to be there with him when he finally does die. So Alan activates the Arc, and he sends both Kanda and Alma away. Kanda actually smiled at Alan for the first time and thanks him as the two are teleported away. And Alan declares that neither the Noah nor the church will be able to find them. So in the ruins of this forgotten city, Kanda and Alma are then able to finally have their last moments together. Alma acknowledges that he hates all of them, the church, all the people who created him, everything, and he will never forgive them. On the other hand, he does regret murdering all of them, and also allowing himself to be turned into an Akuma and working with the Earl and the Noah. So in the end, Alma is very conflicted. He feels that he did nothing but wrong in the end. Kanda basically tells him it's fine, and he'll be here with him to the end. And the two lie there as Alma begins to break down. And as Alma dies, both his soul and the soul of the woman take each other's hands and disappear into the dark matter. And all Kanda can do is just cry as he loses both of them forever. Unfortunately, not everything has been settled. The third exorcists are still going on a rampage. We get to see what's happening to most of them. Kiradori, for example, is immediately killed by General Sicario. He then starts to lecture Crawley for holding back, saying that once their former allies transform into Akuma, they're enemies now and you gotta kill them. That's all there is to it. Sicario does not give a shit about anyone. Miranda's also there, and she's currently bawling her eyes out the fact that they just had to murder an ally. And of course, the Noah are there, the twins specifically, and they're gloating by the fact that the 14th has awoken. Alan is gone. On another battlefield, Lena Lee was forced to kill Goshi, the other third exorcist, and while she's being traumatized by the fact that she murdered an ally, another Noah is also explaining how Alan has become the 14th, and now she's going to have to do the same to him. On another battlefield, Choju is freaking out. He's gone completely bug-eyed and just tweaking. Mary can't do anything to help. None of the fighters can help him. Also, Bookman and Revi are just gone. And finally, back at the North American branch box, Crystal shatters, which forces Fu to disappear. And now Tasuga is going on a rampage once more. McCullum then starts screaming at Alan to go get Alma and kill him to end this horror. The Millennium Earl says, Alma's already dead. Alma's hatred really was that deep. Alan starts fighting Tasuga, trying to save him while trying to stop him from killing everyone. McCullum does not believe the Earl, and he continues to demand that Alan follow his orders, or he will no longer be an exorcist. Alan finally gets to Tasuga, and Tasuga basically says, why aren't you killing me? And Alan's response is, why are you giving up? Aren't you stronger than me? Come on, fight. Don't let Alma's grudge take you over. And finally, Alan's able to get through to Tasuga, past all the grief and such. And Tasuga then asks Alan to suppress the Alma cells long enough for him to finally take back his own body. Unfortunately, at that moment, that is when Link appears and uses talismans to bind Alan. Now, the reason why Link is doing this is because he doesn't actually know Alan was about to save Tasuga. He assumes he's trying to kill him because of two main reasons. Reason one, when Tasuga told Link about her vision where Alan killed her brother and everyone else of the third exorcist, and then she killed Alan. And partially, Link doesn't believe this is a real vision, but at the same time, he doesn't want it to come true if it is a real vision. Second, and more importantly, Link has been with Alan this entire time, and even though Alan is a good, kind man, he can see this shadow, this darkness inside of him that has been slowly consuming him as the days and the weeks and the months have gone by. And right now, this shadow that's taking over Alan is more powerful than he's ever seen it, and he's actually worried for Alan's safety, that he's about to lose himself to the 14th. Once again, Link doesn't know what happened. He just got here. So he's just going by what information he has, and he's trying to save Alan. Alan then yells at Link to let him go so he can save Tasuga. Then McCullum says, no, don't do that. Alan is disobeying orders. Keep him restrained. Tavuka, now that I think about it, she's German, so it should be Tavuka. Tavuka, also currently transforming because of the Alma cells, finally breaks out of Link's binding and going on an insane rampage attacks Alan because she had her vision, so she thinks that Alan is trying to kill her family. Alan, completely pinned down by Link, unable to defend himself, is about to die. Link tries to rush in to save him. He's not going to make it, but that's when Tin Campy, still a giant, just knocks her the fuck out. Tawuka then attacks Link, but right before he gets crushed to death, he just disappears. The reason for this is because the Earl has decided he's going to take the third Exorcist, well, the ones that are still alive, as his weapons. A portal to the new arc opens up beneath Tawuka's feet. Both Alan and Link realize what's about to happen. Link tries to save her, but she's, of course, sucked in. And so at that moment, Link just lost everyone he grew up with. All his childhood friends are just gone, either dead or been taken by the Earl. The Earl then tells the Order that he does sympathize with the Third Exorcist project. It's a desperate act by anyone trying to survive, so it makes perfect sense, and he fully understands it. The problem is, this war has rules. Akuma belong to him. If they wish to seek power, then they should search for hearts. And that is when the Earl and the Noah all leave back into the Ark, taking with them the last Third Exorcist, Medoro. And the Earl's last words before leaving is that he will come back for Alan. And this arc ends with Alan and Tin Campy chained and bound as prisoners in the Black Order, waiting for the fate that McCullen decides for them. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, give a thumbs up so you enjoy more D. Gray Man and other anime things. Thank you and have a great day.